one day, very, very soon, a switch is going to get flipped, a signal is going to go out, and we are going to be attacked by, at minimum, a 2 million man standing army that is already in our country. What's up, internet land? My snapper is broken. I got gloves on, obviously. Hey, listen, I just wanted to jump on and do a quick video talking about why. Why am I building a bunker, right? Like, you guys are seeing these videos. The channel's growing like you wouldn't bbelieve. We put on almost 100 subscribers in the last week. You guys are amazing. The thumbs up are just, you're killing it. You're making me smile every time I turn around. So like, why am I building a bunker? You might be asking, so I want to answer why I'm doing a bunker at all, why I built ICF, and ultimately why I uprooted my family. I paused my career, all those things. And actually, the pause my career is going to be a whole nother video, why I'm no longer a Foursquare pastor. That's a whole nother animal. I'm going to tell you why, based on current happenings right now, and just, you can extrapolate that backward, right, to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago when these plans started happening. The biggest why is this. I think that we have reached a place in the world, not just the United States, but the world in general, where the stability, the relative stability, and granted, if you're watching this video in Israel, you're going, what stability? We don't have any of that. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're watching this video in Russia or China, you're going, what stability? I don't even know what that looks like, okay? But the relative stability around the world globally, and the relative stability inside of America is just unsustainable. It's just not going to happen. I think statistically, you can very easily open a history book and you can see that a country or an empire or a kingdom has about 250 to 400 years of sustainability before it just absolutely collapses and turns into utter chaos until the next big thing takes off and starts the process, right? So that's the bottom line. I just think that America, I think that the current system of the world is just in its final death throes. Like, I think it's in its final breaths, right? I'm going to give you a prime example about it, and it goes back to the whole bunker scenario. A person asked me on my personal Facebook page the other day, so are you a prepper now and you claim to be a pastor? Well, I'm not pastoring right now, obviously, but I am still a pastor. I gotta fly back out to the West Coast in just a couple of days to do some pastoring, right? I speak around, I do the things, okay? But no, I'm not in a pulpit. I don't have a full-time job right now of pastoring. And am I a prepper now? First of all, let me lean in and tell you, you're not actually allowed to ask that question. That's not a question that you don't ask people that, okay? But yes, certainly I am. I am a prepper, but not all preppers are doomsday preppers, right? Not all preppers are prepping because we think that an asteroid, Satan's hammer is coming. Not all of us are like that. I grew up in the Ozarks. This is a part of Tornado Alley. So yeah, I'm about to build a house on top of a bunker because when the tornado sirens go off, I want a safe place for my family to go to and be okay. And if a tornado blows my house down, I want to have a place to live while I rebuild my house. Right? So if I build a bunker, I have those things available to me, and that's really wonderful. Why am I building a barn dominium instead of a regular standard house? Well, because I believe in post-frame construction. I think it's really, really cool. I think you can save some money. I think it's easier for me to do on my own by myself. And there's a handful of things that we'll talk a little bit about when we start the house build in the next couple of weeks. So tune in for that. If you want to watch a post frame build, if you want to watch a barn dominium go up, make sure you hit subscribe, because all of that's going to get filmed as well. I grew up in in a world where an ice storm could knock out the power for a week or 10 days. And you could be without power. And if you didn't have a wood stove, if you didn't have groceries put away, I grew up in an era where you watched every single person just run into the grocery store and buy up all the milk and all the bread and then take off. I don't know why milk and bread. Why is milk and bread a thing? It's perishable and it's weird. We don't stockpile milk and bread. We got some powdered milk in the long-term food preps, but that's about it. We lived in a world where ice storms were a reality. We live in a world where tornadoes are a reality. So why am I building a bunker? Well, because I know that we can be sustained through a storm. We can be sustained through a season without power, in a super insulated ICF basement, that is deep in the ground. We're deep in the ground. You know, my floor is like 12 feet below ground level, right? And so we would be able to sustain ourselves at about 55, 60 degrees. It would be very easy to heat that envelope, right? And I think that's going to be really important. But moreover than that, here's the big reason, and I want to start with current events as a big reason. And I had a conversation with a dear friend who's a law enforcement expert. Let me just say expert. I don't want to give too much away about who he is or where he is, but he lives in the state of Texas. Okay, and you'd never be able to track him down through my social medias. He doesn't do social media, so I can keep him very. I'm not going to tell you what city he's in. And I called him and just asked, hey man, tell me a little bit about the struggle on the southern border, right? Tell me about the situation, you know, the possible civil war that might be coming up, CW2, right? You know, those kinds of things. And he's like, you know what? I'm not as well versed as I should be, but I got a good friend that I go to church with that is a Texas Ranger. I'll go take him to lunch and I'll get you some intel. And I was like, sweet. So the next day he called me up and he said this. He said, are you wearing socks? Because I'm going to blow your socks off. And I said, okay, give it to me straight, man. If you're seeing the conflict between our agencies, between the Texas National Guard, if you're seeing conflict between them and say DHS, if you're seeing conflict between them and say the Border Patrol, those kinds of things, that is all fiction. That is all fiction. Those people, those men and women are not in conflict with one each other. They might have some conflicting orders and some conflicting mandates, but those men and women are not in conflict. There are no Americans pointing guns at each other on the southern border right now as far as agencies and official mandates go, okay? Not happening, absolute fiction. But what is happening on the southern border is that in the month of December, which those numbers are out, we're waiting to see January's numbers. The current regime allowed over 300,000 fighting age males, military age, fighting age males to cross our southern border and just allowed them to come into our country. The bottom line of that absolutely happened. That is not disputable. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's not up for debate. That absolutely happened. And then four things happen, according to this Texas Ranger, the four things happen when someone crosses the border illegally. They get quote unquote caught, right? They are fingerprinted, which is actually more vetting than I thought they had. But they're all coming from foreign countries all over. We'll talk a little bit about where they're coming from in just a second. But the bottom line of it is they're not from Mexico. Most of them are not from South America, okay? But they're fingerprinted. As long as they're not in any kind of system from anywhere, then they're welcomed in. Hey, come on in. And they are then handed a card with $10,000 on it. This is per the Texas Rangers, okay? So if you're not hearing about this, why am I not hearing about this on Fox News? Fox News is a part of the problem, guys. If you're getting your news from the big ones on TV, they're all on the same payroll. They have been manufactured to make us hate each other. Go read Matt Taibbi's book, Hate Incorporated. If you don't believe me, you will after you read that book, okay? Period. So 300,000 military age fighting males have crossed our borders. They get their fingerprints. They get $10,000 on a card, and then they are given travel vouchers to anywhere for the most part. If the federal government's involved, if they're interacting with Texas law enforcement, maybe they're getting bused in New York or they're getting bused in Martha's Vineyard. I don't know, but if they are interacting with federal law enforcement, they're given travel vouchers to anywhere in the United States they want to go. And then they're given a court date that they have to appear in court to discuss their refugee status, their citizenship status, and those kinds of things. But do you know when that court date is? 11 years from now. They're being issued court dates in 2035. Yeah, let your mind sink. They have no intentions of these people ever making it to a courtroom, period. Not that they would ever show up. They're just going to disappear into the ether, okay? A decade ago, the people crossing the border illegally were men, women, and children looking for a better life. They were trying to come here to make ends meet so they could climb out of poverty, okay? Now those people are not crossing any longer. Those are not the people that are coming here right now. We're talking about Chinese nationals, Middle Easterns, Africans. They are military-age fighting males from all of these countries in the world. They hate our guts, okay? And the leftists are absolutely, it's not just the leftists, okay? The neocons are just as guilty, right? Let me just say, I'll say this, the global elite are funding this to destabilize America. And here's what my friend was telling me, that all of those agencies, DHS, Texas National Guard, Department of Border Patrol, local law enforcement on the ground, any man or woman that are wearing boots that are in the dirt of South Texas on the border, they are in perfect unity about this right here. That one day, very, very soon, a switch is going to get flipped, a signal is going to go out, and we are going to be attacked by, at minimum, a 2 million man standing army that is already in our country, waiting for the signal, waiting for the day to arrive. So, first of all, if you're not already a prepper for reasonable things like tornadoes, fires, ice storms, floods, those kinds of things, you need to be. So why am I building a bunker? Because our government hates us. They have no desire whatsoever to be our protectors and care for us. And they don't give two rats farts about us as human beings. So yeah, I got a flock of chickens that poop my breakfast every morning, right? We just took two very large pigs to the butcher. One of them, a buddy of mine bought to help cover my cost to raise pigs. Right? He's already in line to buy one of my pigs next year, right? And we've got our breeding pair. Why? Because I want to be in charge of my food. I want to be in charge of my family's security. I want to be in charge of helping my friends and my loved ones, and maybe even you out there on YouTube, to become more self-sufficient. So why am I building a bunker? Because I think we're going to need it. It's either going to be for something like a tornado or an ice storm, or it's going to be for absolute civil unrest. I was in the Pacific Northwest pastoring, and during COVID, when I could walk into a grocery store and there'd be no chicken or meat in the butcher area of our local big grocery stores because people had bought it all up in panic mode. I would go fishing in and around Portland and stop off at a Walmart supercenter, and there would be no chicken, no meat of any kind. I'm going to be able to grow my own meat. That's what being a prepper means to me. Does it mean, stuffing away buckets full of stuff in my bunker? Yeah, some of that stuff. Does it mean acquiring another self-defense tool? Sometimes there's going to be a little bit of that. There might be a little bit of that on this channel, so tune in for that if you want to see more of that. Let me know in the comment section below. My range is right over there, as a matter of fact. Maybe we need to do some range stuff. Why have I lost 165 pounds? That was a prep for me. I wasn't content to stay 460 pounds anymore because I knew the struggle that was coming, that was on the way. Bottom line, I wasn't going to be able to stand for that. I wasn't going to be able to defend my family at 460 pounds. I still got some more to lose. So the why, there you go. We'll talk a little bit on another video about why ICF. Why did we use insulated concrete forms? I think I alluded to that, the super insulation value of it. The speed was amazing. That was actually one of the biggest things, is I could get that basement up so fast. We had some setbacks, and our builder had some scheduling problems, and I got really sick last summer. So that could have been done way faster than it was had we not hit hurdles. But the fact of the matter is that I'm building a bunker, and I'm building a self-sufficient household, an off-grid scenario. We're going to try to stay as off-grid as we can. We'll buy propane from, suppliers to stockpile it up, those kinds of things, but we're not going to be on a natural gas pipeline. That's grid. The goal is that the house will not be on a power line. I got people who work for the power company. You think I'd want to support my family, that they're job creators? No, I really don't. I want to be my own power company. If you are on the fence of what you're thinking about whether or not you should go and try homesteading, or maybe you should just get a little ways out of the city, those kinds of things, I'm here to tell you absolutely yes. There is an attack coming on this country, and if you aren't paying attention, it's going to roll right over the top of you. I want you to think about this. A 2 million man standing army that is waiting for their orders inside of America. Guys, we don't have 2 million elementary schools in this country. We don't have 2 million infrastructure targets. In fact, actually, there's only about 20 infrastructure targets on our power grid that would completely wipe out our power. We wouldn't even need an EMP. We wouldn't need a solar flare. All the stuff that you see on doomsday preppers, that's not even necessary. There's a standing army that can knock all of that out for years. And the EMP Commission that dropped their report the same week that the 9/11 Commission dropped their report, so which one got paid attention to, by the way? They said that if our power grid goes down for any reason, but they were talking about EMPs, is electromagnetic pulses, by the way, for those of you who don't know what that means. If our grid goes down, that they expect a 60 to 90% die-off in this country. Well, that actually fits the global elite's agenda. They want to see a 60% reduction in population around the world. So why? We can't wring our hands and ask the question, why are they letting all these people into our country? Why are they doing this? We know why. Because, well, I'll say it like this, and this is where I'll end the video. I was having a conversation with two of my dear friends the other day. Here's the difference between us and them. Here's the difference. My ultimate goal is to see people that are different from me find, know, and experience the love of Jesus, be redeemed of their sins, and conformed into the renewing of their minds so that they can have salvation poured out on them and eternal life given to them. That's my goal, right? Their goal is they want me to die. Their goal is they want you to be dead. They don't want to win you to their argument. They don't want you to understand and empathize with their struggle. They want you to die. And they're going to do their level best. And they have recruited and funded and financed a standing army that we're going to have to stand against in very short amount of time. An attack is imminent in this country. Please, please, please pay attention to it. Get ready. There is a video on this channel. I'm going to link it up here of me sitting in the woods right over there just about a year ago talking about the top 10 things you need to do to start prepping for. I wish you would have seen that video and started doing them a year ago. Get after it, guys. Get prepped. I love you, but that love pales in comparison to how much God loves you. Rest in that love.